because it's right now, all these startups, tech companies who are kind of coming around to the idea that SaaS is not going to work out, but then we'll be an agent company, right? That's what they are saying. But I'm saying that's not even going to work. Expansion mind frame is that give all of these repetitive tasks to the AI agents, and people can do more and more interesting and more creative things that grows the business. Like Claude Opus 4.7 is a Ferrari, and everybody has it now. Like, who's driving that Ferrari makes such a big difference. So who's driving it is all skill. So then great becomes now a sellable thing that you can charge money for, and pretty good is free, or at least cheap, because AI is making it pretty good. So Robinhood is now allowing you to do trading through your AI agents. Okay, an Irish guy and a Turkish guy walk into a bar.
Was this your plan all along? That was the opening line?
I planned it. So, folks, welcome to episode number 1 of Paddy and Bora Jam, which we lovingly call PBJ.
Do you want to give the background on this other alternative name that our agents come up with?
Yeah, you give the background.
What's a quick way to do it? On the way home last night, I was at dinner in the city in New York. Bora sent me a markdown file to prep notes of the little topics we're going to talk through today. I was in a back of an Uber, so just on my iPhone. Can't read markdown file, go into Claude, convert it to HTML so I can just quickly skim through it, which also insane that that's where we're at, that we can just create these markdown files in the back of an Uber, or HTML files. And the title's Pints, Spots, and Judgment.
Pints, Spots,
which I thought you wanted us to have some pints of Guinness and copy the Collison brothers.
Well, you'll have to come so we can have pints of Guinness again, because I'm only having Guinness when you visit.
Always down. You also have to come to New York more, but
I will soon, maybe next month.
Actually, there's this like AI summit one of my friends is putting on. I was with him last night, Nick Sharma. He actually, that just reminds me before I forget, was asking if you would speak at it.
He actually sent me a LinkedIn request just like this morning.
That was last night.
That's the thing. Okay, yeah, I'll speak at it. I listen to his podcast. I love that.
Well, I was saying we should get like a workshop or something, or you to
sure. That sounds awesome.
Build some agents on stage or something like that.
So why are we doing this? So Paddy and I talk about just AI and agents and tech all the time. And I really enjoy those conversations. And I figure if you record them, maybe other people will enjoy them too. So that's why we're recording it now. We came up with actually a funny thing. Let's just tell everyone. Yesterday, when we were kind of preparing what to talk about, I created a GitHub repo called PBJ. I invited Paddy and had AI agents do some research on the latest AI news and some of the stuff that's top of mind for me and also for Paddy. So that's how we came up with the list of things to talk about. But maybe we should just introduce ourselves a little bit, Paddy, just in case people wonder, like, who are these guys anyway? So I'm Bora Celik. I'm the founder and CEO of a company called Gentic that builds agentic infrastructure for e-commerce brands. What is agentic infrastructure? Mostly MCP servers and the data behind them. So that's what I do. Paddy?
Paddy Cleary, co-founder of Paul Street. We're a partner marketing agency. Background in startups, fintech, and studied engineering in college. So have been AI pilled for the last couple of years, which has led to our conversations, weekly kind of chats about how agents are changing how companies work today. And similarly, I've thought this would be a good concept for a while to just record these conversations. So I'll just probably try to stay on track a bit more today, but let's see where it goes.
All right. So Paddy, let's go through.
Does that t-shirt say Run MCP?
Run MCP.
Where did you get that?
You know where I got it?
What is it?
I bought it from an MCP server. Like this t-shirt, I think, where did I get it from? This guy, Ruben. I think he's like one of the API engineers at this company called Postman. So Postman or Postman is this platform that allows you to call APIs. So they're also building all the stuff with MCP servers, and because MCP servers for agents to use. So he built a Shopify shop, that you can purchase things via an MCP server. So I bought this from Claude. Like I went into Claude, I connected to his MCP server for his Shopify shop.
Yeah.
And then I place an order. Basically, Claude asked me, what's your address? What's your name? What's your size? And I said, all right, large. And then it shipped and I got it. So this is
There's a
agentic
good bit for us
commerce.
to talk about through that.
You know?
Which is funny. That's actually where we started chatting. So I reached out to you because I saw you were one of the only people writing about MCP servers. When was that? When was MCP kind of defined by Anthropic? That was like October, November 24.
Sometime last year. And
well, no, the year before. It was the end of the year before.
Probably.
And then
everything.
And then it was the start of last year. I think I saw you posting about building agents with MCP servers for DTC brands. And you're the only person I could find. And then you wrote back to me and jumped on a call, and you were sitting on the beach.
Yeah, I was.
And then we spoke for like an hour on how MCP, the concept of MCP was changing everything. And you told me that you had to email all your investors saying you have to pivot because MCP was just defined and it changes everything.
No, the line that I sent to my investors,
fitting t-shirt to wear.
Yeah, exactly. It said, no, I know exactly. October 1st, 2024.
Yeah.
I was sending the September update. The first line, SaaS is dead, happy October. That's basically when I decided that prior to it, all the technology that we built, I mean, this is obviously.
Did any recipients or investors respond negatively or like
literally one of my investors just replied, he just sent me an email 2 days ago because I've been saying this for over 2 years.
Yeah.
They're like, oh no, Bora, you're exaggerating. You're just like, you're too ahead of the curve. The world doesn't work like that. And I'm like, well, I don't know. We'll see. But like in the email,
we'll see.
Look, actually, let me just go. Actually, no. I'll find the email, the exact email that he sent me, and then I'll read it to you. So, so one of my investors, he said that, because yes, it seems like you're an early adopter for many things. You were the first founder in the portfolio who seemed very bearish about anything software. Now I see there's a cohort of founders who are converging to your view.
Are you able to share what fund or portfolio, or probably not?
Oh, no, I don't know. He doesn't. And then he wrote like internal memo and asking for my view. And in his memo is basically like, what can you defend? What is defensible right now? Right. And it's just like all the typical things, just not code, but anyway, so that's basically, I've been on that tip for a while. And even, I think on my YouTube channel, Agentic Brand, one of the earlier ones is I have a demo of buying something, like doing research in Claude in a Shopify store's catalog. And I'm buying it using the Stripe MCP because Stripe MCP was one of the first MCPs that was out there.
Yeah.
And then now that they have like
they're on it.
And it was functional, it was working. But so let's take a look at our notes here and get into it. You sent me, where's that? Let me just click on it again. I kind of lost it.
The pine spots and judgment.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, here it is. So topics. Topic number 1, agent harnesses.
Yep.
So agent harnesses, let's talk about that. I'll get that started. So prior to agents, we have ChatGPT. We have Claude. People are asking questions. People are getting replies. And then agents come in. Agents run in NA10 or other places. And now OpenClaude comes out. OpenClaude is an agent harness, and there's Hermes and all these. These are all agent harnesses, right? So
I have some good stories to tell from dinner last night that are relevant for this. I have good anecdotes from dinner last night with 2 founders that is relevant for this.
Tell me the anecdotes.
Well, go ahead. No, one of them super has Hermes agents set up. He's running like 5-6 businesses, has all his different Hermes agents connected on his Mac Minis that he's running. And then the other founder, also successful kind of consumer founder, has a big brand. But anyway, he's trying to learn more about AI. He's like, I just ripped ChatGPT on my laptop. It's like, all right, well, what do you actually use it for? And then he's asking us. So we were kind of trying to explain the different concepts to him. And I think this is actually a really valuable topic for people to understand what a harness is. That is like, and what's the difference? Because he's like, what model should I use? And it's like, well, you can kind of choose between, and I think this is somewhere in your notes, is the different models are more of a commodity, and really understanding the type of work you're doing and the type of harness that will make the most sense for you. And also whichever one you can adopt and understand the best. So yeah, for someone starting out, setting up their OpenClaude or Hermes on a Mac Mini might not be the best, but Claude has done a great job of creating great harnesses, and even that's what Cowork is. Cowork is just the harness of Claude Code and gets you kind of same access. It's more user friendly. They have built these different features like dispatch to enable kind of remote working on your phone instead of Telegram. But I cut you off.
Yeah, no, it is. Claude Code is a harness, Claude Cowork is a harness, and then OpenAI's Codex. So these are harnesses that run on your computer, right? So, and then same thing with like OpenClaude and Hermes and several variations of those that kind of run on the computer. So there is the difference between a harness and just like a regular AI assistant. So there's an AI assistant, there's an AI agent, and then there's an AI agent that runs in a harness. So AI assistants are these AIs that answer our questions, right? So ChatGPT is an AI assistant. Claude's an AI assistant. AI agent does things. It doesn't wait for you to kind of question answer. So, we set up these agents on N8N. An agent is like there's a model, which is the LLM, either an OpenAI model or an Anthropic model or Gemini model or whatever. Then there's memory. And then there are tools. It could be MCP tools or other kind of tools. And then the agent makes use of these things. So when we set up like an N8N agent flow, like it goes in one direction, the LLM uses the memory and the MCP tools, and the agent kind of coordinates that. And then it kind of runs by itself, either on a schedule or through triggers, and does things, right? So database reads database, writes some documents or things like that. So it can do this by itself without us chatting with it. Right. But the way that it's done in N8N, it's kind of like a directional. It goes like in one way. So the beautiful thing about the harness that Claude Code really, I think, popularized is that it keeps going until the job is done in a loop. So this loop is the thing. And then, because normally, like if you go to N8N, if there's an error, it stops. And then it's like, okay, like what happened? So, but here in a harness environment, it just like keeps trying until the job is done. Right. So that's why kind of this became popular. My company, like I first built an agent harness for my personal project, which was like, Mio for like personal AI assistant. So that has an agent harness. And then recently I built Agentic Computer, which is also an agent harness, which can talk to it from like either Slack or Telegram. And it does things. You give it a job, but sometimes it does like 19 things. It does one thing, it gets some results, and it's like, well, this is not what I'm looking for. And then it does more. I'll give you an example. Like do some Reddit search go look at Reddit forums to see like what people are saying about certain things. It does some searches and it doesn't find what it's looking for, and it keeps going. And then sometimes it goes to Google, like if you give it the tools, if it looks at Google Trends, it kind of like creates this report after a while, but it needs to, so this is like a harness that's on the cloud, right? It's not on the computer anywhere. It's not on my laptop. It's on the cloud server and it's installed there. And there's an LLM, which is, Claude or OpenAI or Gemini. It has memory. It has access to a file system. File system is another interesting thing about harness. It just saves stuff so they can go back. So this is why the Markdown became so popular.
That's also what I think has made OpenClaude or Hermes now as well so popular. Is like even the guy is mentioning at dinner last night was talking about the main benefits or reasons that he just used his Hermes agent versus a Claude is like, oh, the memory is so much better. Well, really, that's just the harness creating these different file systems and constantly backing up your memory on your Mac Mini that's always live, which is a true benefit if you're really just interacting to these agents through your phone. What do you think then of all these different startups? These different startups that are positioning themselves as like vertical specific agents. I don't know, like media buying agents, or I don't want to call out any specific startup, but what do you think are valuable in these startups and things to be wary of?
No, not valuable. So basically, I'll tell you, in 2024, I gave up on SaaS, right? Because I'm like, SaaS can't be a business. It's just, people are going to, at the time, agents weren't even a thing, but people were vibe coding stuff, it's Replit and Lovable. And I'm like, wow, like you can just vibe code all this stuff. And this was before agents, before proper agentic engineering, and everything was like kind of rinky-dink. But still, you could see where it's going, right? So like, I'm like, never bet against progress. So, and then agents came, but now people are building their own agents. Agent building is so easy now. right? So, some of my customers, I can teach them how to build their own agents. I'm like, everybody wants to build their own agents, and the reason for that is one, all of this stuff can be in-house now. Like people are canceling their SaaS subscriptions.
And arguably it should be.
Yeah, because it's your like core competency, how this company works. Why kind of like give that to a SaaS vendor that
When I'm
stores all
talking
the
to
stuff in their own database?
Yeah, when I'm talking to other founders, the best analogy I give when they're trying these different startups or tools or agents or kind of onboarding these different agents that they're replacing work. If you really think about what the grand vision is they're going to replace a lot of knowledge work or a lot of work that you might have employees doing today. So if you just think about that and you say, we're going to have all these agents and they're going to do all these different types of work across different teams and job functions. Do you really want to outsource where those agents are coming from and who controls and creates those agents? Or in other words, you're outsourcing your employees, or depending on the business type, that changes how important that is or not. But I wouldn't want that.
Yeah.
Also, you're receiving the same agent that maybe all your competitors are receiving if they're using the same tool, or agent tool, versus actually building your own IP, training your own agents that are on your own proprietary data that you want to give specific guardrails or specific specifications around. But that's what I think we're going to end up talking a lot more about on these podcasts, is the reason, or these recordings, and it's the reasons why that's so important, and how I think that's where a lot of founders are stuck at the moment, is like, well, I have no idea how to even go about that, or they don't have the right data infrastructure to even start that. So they have no choice. They have to use whatever agent some SaaS tool is offering them, or some startup. And there is good options as well. Like if you've never used AI before and you have like some version of a Hermes agent and wrapped inside of some startup that can just complete a task for you, and you ask it to run off and do something that's useful in your business, and it actually works, and it's in Slack. Like those companies are still going to succeed for now until they make some sort of expensive mistake for a group of customers from not having the right guardrails in place. I feel like that's going to be pretty common, to be interesting to see. But yeah, we're at the craziest time where the conversations I have, there's so many founders that are trying to just test these different solutions, and everyone now it's mainstream to be trying to put agents into your company, which is good. People need to do that. But I think sometimes the risks aren't fully understood, which also varies across company. So it'll be interesting to see and you know how startups work. There's going to be many startups that say they have all these safety features and everything else. And we're also seeing the increase in cybersecurity, or like hackers that are going to be able to access or break these different startups. So how do those things play out over time? Both of those statements being true, and will certainly be interesting.
Yeah. I mean, this is not a common view, what I'm sharing with you, right? Because it's right now, all these startups, tech companies who are kind of coming around to the idea that SaaS is not going to work out, but then will be an agent company, right? That's what they are saying. But I'm saying that's not even going to work. So look, here's another interaction with one of my other investors. I was watching this episode with Gokul Rajaram. He was on Invest, like the best podcast with Patrick O'Shaughnessy, I guess.
Yeah.
Is he an Irish guy? Sounds Irish.
Say that again.
Patrick O'Shaughnessy. Do you know the guy I'm talking about?
I listened to his podcast. I don't think he's Irish. Yeah, okay. I mean, that's a very Irish name, so I'm sure he has Irish heritage. But
So I sent my investor on Slack the part where Gokul Rajan was saying, where agent building startups are gonna have a hard time because companies are building their own agents now, right? And then my investor, who this is like $1.5 billion huge fund, right? His response: therefore, what do you build to make money, right? Because I'm saying SaaS is dead, also agents are dead. So it's like, how are you supposed to make money if you can't sell anything? Or like literally, you can't sell anything. People are kind of like building their own stuff,
infrastructure.
My response is some things that are a lot more difficult than building agents, but unclear what that's supposed to be. So,
well, that's infrastructure for you, no?
Even that, right? Everything is kind of, I mean, that's what the data centers are all about, right? So it's, agents are running, they need the data centers, and the harnesses.
I mean more the technical infrastructure for a company to set up their databases or.
Yeah. So for now, I think that's what I'm doing, because I'm like, I don't want to work on things that are going to die, or like not die, but it's like from a business perspective, right? The other thing, Paddy, is tied to jobs and employment, right?
Yeah.
What are people supposed to work on at the company if agents are doing everything? And I've been saying for a while now, they need to be agent builders and they need to be agent orchestrators, right?
Yeah.
So I think a part of the whole thing is starting from training these companies and their employees to understand not just how to use AI, because sometimes you see like this training stuff out there. It's like, look, this is the way to use ChatGPT, create a project in Claude, and this is how to use Core. I'm like, this is just basic stuff, right? Table stakes.
That's my biggest time suck right now is training our team weekly about how to, and I've chosen Claude as the harness to just get people to understand instead of trying to flick between 10 different tools that are constantly changing and have slightly different GUIs or interfaces. But it's a tricky position because, well, obviously it's different for every kind of company, but as a service business, people work with us or people work with Paul Street to work with our humans that we have, that we build strategy for and manage their programs. So they don't want, or they're not signing up to work with us to get some agentic workflow. So also have to be cognizant of that. But at the same time, there's a lot of admin tasks or kind of like creating reports or pulling performance data to give feedback to the client or just tracking like sentiment that the team needs to understand. And also the team needs to at least understand how to use Claude. Everyone, that's a non-negotiable now. It's been non-negotiable for a while. But separate to that, I'm like, there's so many opportunities to build new agent first companies, even a service business, like Paul Street will manage these different partner programs and across different scopes. But I can't do that today because my clients don't want that. So even if I had a great solution and the whole team were just killer agent builders, I would say I have some clients that are Cody Jones out, I think would appreciate that. But we probably have to renegotiate our fee structure completely for that. So I'm in a tricky spot where I'm thinking, okay, can't build that natively internally without changing the whole dynamic of how we work with clients. But separately, I'm like, should there be a digital twin? A lot of people talk about building digital twins of these companies or any company now. The guys on the Moonshots podcast talk about this a lot. It's like they're mostly talking about like public companies talking about how to red team how to defend against the next 5 years. How do you defend your company over the next 5 years? Well, you should have a team of engineers or whatever you want to call it, forward deployed engineers maybe, to try to build a digital twin that replicates all the work that you do at your company, but is just agent native or agent centric. So I've been thinking a lot about what that would look like. And I think it would have to, the position I'm in is that would have to be almost a separate company. And it would have to be talked very clearly to, or positioned very clearly and transparently to any future clients or any even active clients that wanted to add on some agentic services, because there's value there. We have proprietary data in the work that we've done for the last, call it 4 years or whatever, managing these programs for brands. So, but could we just have an MCP server that we can do a program audit of your affiliate program? And you don't have to wait a week for our team to get around to the time to actually go through it. We create the agent that reviews in the same way that our team does. And we have our playbooks, we have our skills that go around. Add an MCP server, add a Paul Street connector in Claude, and any brand can, instead of having to go through our usual sales process and pay us like a hefty retainer and performance fees, we can figure out some other fee model where we will audit your account. And then that could also be a funnel to, okay, do you want to actually talk to the team, or do you want to build a more specific strategy, or do you want the agent strategy? And we should be giving the clients that choice. Do you want to work with agents, or do you want to work with humans? And they're two different paths.
Interesting. I haven't even thought about it like that.
Yeah. Well, you will work in a very different setup. You're building software, so you don't have to worry about like a lot of our services are relationship, like we're partner marketing agencies. So each of the different scopes are different forms of relationships. And we got lucky that happens to be the service that we provide. And it seems like it's defensible for even the short term. Who knows what happens in the next 2 years? But how we drive value to our clients is we have relationships with publications, and we have relationships with different influencers, and relationships with all these different types of partners that are valuable, and we can put a strategy for our clients around who would be these good partners to work with, and then we manage those relationships. But that being said, there could be a digital twin created. I just can't do that for my current clients because that's not what they signed up to us for. They don't want that, or I don't think they want that. Maybe some of them do, and they see this and we're like, hey, give us the agent version. But I don't think so. They work with us for our humans. So at the same time, I would need our employees to understand how to best leverage Claude in the right for the right pieces of work. But the end goal actually isn't to agentify everything, because that would defeat the purpose of what we do for now. Again, things are moving pretty quickly in the world today. So who knows what our clients will be saying to us in by the end of the year. But yeah, that's something I think about a lot. But it does, we're already seeing like our team saves a ton of time, which means they get to spend more time building the relationships with our partners, or even getting to get on more calls.
That's the thing. That's basically when you give all these like boring, repetitive tasks to the agents so that humans work on more interesting, creative, strategic work.
100%. And that's something I have to talk a lot about internally. I think you started this with how this is going to impact jobs as well. And it's like, and I have to be very vocal about when I talk internally to our employees of, hey, we want to, because different roles are affected differently. We're like, hey, you're really good focusing on pulling information from here and creating a report for our client. Like, we want to build a whole process to just make that easier. And they might get scared, like, oh, well, that's what I spend 90% of my time doing. It's like, well, yeah, then that doesn't mean we're going to fire you. It means we'll find other more valuable work for you to do.
That's the difference between tasks and jobs, right? So basically, people kind of maybe psychologically tie their value to a series of tasks that they do, but the tasks don't define you like as a professional. The role might change, right? So now certain tasks might be replaced by agents, and they are getting replaced, but that doesn't mean the job is replaced, right? So like the best companies, I think right now, don't think of using AI as a way to kind of reduce headcount. They use it as a way to, how do we kind of like grow faster now without firing anybody, really? I mean, you see the layoffs, but at the same time, you could think of it in a more expansion mind frame as opposed to a contraction mind frame. Expansion mind frame is that give all of these repetitive tasks to the AI agents, and people can do more interesting and more creative things that grows the business, as opposed to like, let's try to cut costs by doing layoffs.
Yeah. No. Yeah, we've no plans to have any. Well, there'll be performance-based layoffs for sure, but we're growing. So the plan is to just grow with having less headcount, or like employee, whatever the employee to revenue ratio should, in theory, just continue to increase. What's important in this, in that dynamic is, and this is something that took me, I think, I'd say months to kind of work through and identify the right objective function to track the right metrics to be focusing on at internally, or at at our company, where you want to be able to measure success very clearly across many different metrics, so that as you free up time, you can clearly point to, like, I'm sure every business has different versions of this, is like, there's tasks that people that are in the weeds think that this is really important that we do it exactly this way because they've been doing it for 18 months or something. Or if you introduce a whole new workflow for getting something done, they're like, no, it's really important that we do it this way. But if you have to be able to clearly point to, well, no, here are so we track EOS, like rocks and scorecard metrics, the employee operational system, but or entrepreneurial operating system. You have to be able to clearly point to those metrics to say, okay, look, we're saving your time, and these metrics are actually going up. We're getting more revenue for our clients. We've onboarded more partners into the program. There's more ROAS on this program. Like, having all those clear identifiers to be able to then also speak to your team and say, no, look, this new process is increasing these correct metrics of objective functions, which also, if you're really building a digital twin, or if you're building any sort of agentic teams, as you know, the objective function is the most important piece for them to iterate on and know what to validate as improvement.
So since we're talking about jobs, our second topic was Claude Code and jobs. So this is interesting. Casey Newton interviewed Boris Cherny, creator and head of Claude Code. So Boris Cherny, funny thing, Ukrainian guy, he was born in Odessa. My wife is Ukrainian and we met in Odessa.
Oh, yeah.
But I told her, she was very pleased. I'm like, this guy is the guy. He created Claude Code, which is like the best product in the world right now, literally. So he was asked a question about like what he thinks is going to happen, because he said, which is exactly what I do, he hasn't written a single line of code in 6 months. And then Casey Newton is one of my favorite newsletter writers and podcasters. He asked him, like, what do you think is going to happen to engineers? So he says that he predicts the title of software engineer could start to disappear by the end of 2026, which is like, oh, like that's kind of scary. But his optimistic frame is that fewer traditional engineers, but many more people writing or shipping code through agents. So it's kind of like changing. And then he says that it's going to increase. He said basically it's going to be 100x the need for these kinds of builders than it is now. So this is kind of like this abundance idea that Elon Musk is putting forward, right? Which I'm usually having a hard time like trying to get my head around the idea of abundance, where everybody has access to everything and everybody's rich, and it's not universal basic income, but it's like universal high income.
Yeah,
but I mean, like
I see how they get there in the long term, or I kind of, I guess, followed that track of just like reduced cost of services, and then you'll get goods, you'll receive goods and services much cheaper, so quality of life will be better, so people will in theory live a more abundant life. But I do think that's a long way away, or I don't know how we really get there. And I think there is a mid time frame, or like call it the like 2 to 5 year, what happens in, what are we in 20, what happens in 28 to 2032? I don't know. Because there is, because and what Boris is saying is, I also agree with that, where all these, every role is going to change in some way, like how you do work or how you interact with a laptop, which is how a lot of, let's qualify it by kind of knowledge work for now, although physical AI is also something that I spend less time thinking about, but also will impact a lot of industries. Knowledge work will change. Everyone's role will change. Some people will benefit more than others. It's not going to change every role in the same way. And company structures are going to change. Like I just gave our example briefly. And I think the quality of work will go up, or the quality of the service. Like again, if I just look at our company, the quality should go up, or if we're clearly tracking and always improving the work that gets done, or we can do more with these agents and with Claude and save time and have our humans spend more time building the relationships and have more time to do creative thinking about the right strategy to work with a client, or even spend more time with the client to understand them. So quality should go up, but I'll need to hire less. We should be able to work with more brands with less people. Also, there's going to be people that don't adopt, or are kind of slow adopters that are at our company or at any other company, and can't adapt, or their role might completely change and they have to learn a new skill. And what we're starting to see as well, which seems to be mostly a US thing, but a negative sentiment around AI, that they resist learning how to change their job. And that's the worst spot to be in. That's going to be, they're going to be the worst affected people. Yeah. Just learn the skills. If you resist them.
Well, here's the way to think about it. Look, that to me is the most dangerous, because what happens is,
100%.
AI is going to take my job, hence I won't learn it, and I will slow down all efforts to embrace it. And then because of that, AI would end up taking your job. It's like, so upskilling. Look, think of it this way, right? Ferrari. So if AI is leveling the playing field and giving everyone a Ferrari,
their latest release.
Hold on, don't derail it yet. Well, we can get there too. That whole design thing is but the thing about Ferrari is like, all right, everybody gets a Ferrari. Like Claude Opus 4.7 is a Ferrari, and everybody has it. So right now,
first time the technology has been that broadly available.
So, but the thing is, the way I drive a Ferrari versus, I mean, you work with Formula One, right? Give me one driver name.
One driver for Ferrari, Lewis Hamilton and Charles Leclerc.
Okay, so there you go. So
Charles.
and Lewis Hamilton driving a Ferrari.
Sure, Lewis, yeah.
Even if we both have access to the same Ferrari, like I get into that car, like the only thing I know how to do is just to press on the gas pedal, and you know what I mean? Like who's driving that Ferrari makes such a big difference. So like, and who's driving it is all skill. Right. That's why if you look at the ClickUp's layoffs, the guy said that, like we're laying off a bunch of people, but then we're increasing the salaries of a bunch of people to $1 million.
Yeah.
Like that's the good Ferrari drivers versus people.
That's the perfect way to say. Yeah. If everyone tomorrow gets given if someone gives me a Formula One car tomorrow, like zero chance we're able to drive that. And if I say this is dumb, this is the worst, F1 cars are replacing our jobs or taking our jobs as drivers. Like I'm not getting that. I'll never be able to learn how to drive it.
Yeah.
Or I could like spend a bit of time and say, hey, Lewis, like, can you give us a few lessons and teach me how to, like, it'd be pretty cool to know how to drive this Ferrari or drive this Formula One car.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I mean, it
Yeah.
applies. Craft matters, right? Learning how to do something really well. I mean, look, we work with all the same tools and they create an output that looks pretty good. It looks pretty good. And you're like, you know what? Like, it's done. It's done. Like, I don't need anybody. But it's like 80% done. And there's like a 20% that you still have to do. And there, in order for it to be usable, like even, like it creates like an ad asset or so, like it looks like pretty good. But then you're like, oh, but I can't use it. It's missing a few things. But getting that a few things is skill, how to do it right, how to
That,
do it
that,
perfectly.
yeah, that's actually another like important point and something I'm seeing as I try to get our team upskilled or understand how to use even just co-work. And I think you kind of alluded to it, or how the job changes. And I guess this comes from the top and how we kind of instruct people to work with AI is it should only be helping you to do the work. So let's say an example of, I don't know, a common one of like creating a document. And if it's creating a document for you, whether it's internal use or external use, it should be helping you create that document, but you should know everything. You should be treating it as you're the one creating that. You're the owner of that document, and whatever's in that is yours. And if part of it is AI slop, you better understand that and change it so that it's not, or tweak it and actually craft it. And that's the skill part. You have to create. Like, I can create better documents than I could ever have created, but I still own that it's a document I'm creating, and I will tweak it till I'm happy with that document. Versus some people that are like using these tools for the first time. Like, yeah, I got to create this thing for me, but it looks stupid. And it's like, yeah, it does look stupid. So like, work on it and make it better and edit it. Like, put it into Google Docs and edit it with your keyboard. I don't know. Like, use Whisper to change your paragraphs. Like, remove the AI stop. But so that role of working with, or the important part of knowing how to drive the Ferrari is like, it can help, it can gather much more information, it can have much more context, it can connect into all your different tools and data sources to understand what you're doing, but you still need to craft the output, and you still need to review and understand how to review that output. And then you also have to like iterate that over time so it gets better at creating the output for you.
So I think like in the past, we expected a certain level of quality from work. We accepted it as well. But now I think everybody's standards went up. So like right now, pretty good is the bottom line. So like in the past, you would have paid someone to produce pretty good results, pretty good design, pretty good code, pretty good PowerPoint documentation, like whatever you're paying people for, right? But now that's no longer acceptable, right? Because you can one shot a pretty good result from these AI tools. And then you think as a business owner, you're like, why should I pay anyone if I can just do this myself? So what happens now is pretty good is what you get, but you can get to great by having a skilled AI-pilled person who knows how to drive that Ferrari and get the pretty good to great. So then great becomes now a sellable thing that you can charge money for, and pretty good is free, or at least cheap, because AI is making it pretty good. So that's how I think things are shifting, like basically quality of anything, quality of movies, design, code, documents, any kind of output that's produced by humans. It just needs to be great now, because it's not starting from zero. It's not starting from a blank slate. It's starting from, okay, so this is the draft that I got from AI. That's okay. I can't send this to the customer, but I can make that awesome by putting my skill into it. So that's how I kind of feel about how things have changed.
Yeah. And same thing. Like, we're hiring a bunch of roles at the moment, and then every one of my conversations, I'm like, hey, so what? How are you working with Claude or AI? What's your stack? Or like, that has to be a talking point.
People are giving them projects now. Like I'm seeing the interview process of some of the cool startups. They're like, hey, like we just give them, show me how you use Claude Code to build this thing.
Yeah, which is another form of the. I think what's important is, if you send a project, like, it's okay. Well, how can you drive the Ferrari? Show me how you drive the Ferrari. Here's the project. Show me how you drive it. It doesn't matter how you got there. I don't care if you hand wrote a Google Doc about some question I asked you or some project that I gave you. If you hand built it, I just want to see how fast you can get around the track.
Yeah.
If you can get around the track the same as Lewis Hamilton, then fantastic. If it takes you twice as long, but you're like, oh, I spent all night working on this, it's like, well, I'd rather you can just get around the track really quickly.
All right. Next topic. super fun. I saw this yesterday. I was like, oh, I got to try this. So Robinhood is now allowing you to do trading through your AI agents. So The Verge reported Robinhood is opening its trading platform to AI agents. The announcement says users can connect agents through AI native MCP servers. It's launching in beta with equities first, options, crypto, event contracts, futures. And then there's an agentic credit card that lets agents spend through a dedicated virtual card. And I am super intrigued. Paddy, what do you think about this thing?
Yeah. I mean, so what I do at the moment, what I do today is I have a project in Cowork, I think, Claude, my personal like Claude Cowork, which has any like my positions I have, knows about me, knows what my kind of goals are. And I just talk to that about, so the main thing that I track for any public equities I hold are mostly AI infrastructure, and specifically just based on what Leopold Ashbrenner is buying in situational awareness. So that's a hedge fund. So you should look it up. He was an early OpenAI researcher and got fired for having an argument about safety with Sam. But he then wrote these papers, situational awareness, that went viral, and they were like PhD grade kind of detailed papers about the infrastructure that was required for the world ahead of us. I think that was maybe in like 2 years ago, maybe 2024. But anyway, I think he was 22 or 3 maybe at the time, after the papers, announced he's starting a hedge fund based on that thesis of the papers that he wrote. I think he raised like $1 billion or $2 billion as a 23-year-old. And today, the Q1 13F filings, so the latest that came out like a week or two ago, he's up to 13.7 billion is the AUM of the fund. And if you look at the positions, like the performance of them has been insane. So I'll link to the 13F filings every time, and I build them up in my Claude project, so it knows. And then I take screenshots of my positions, etc. And then also I listen to other podcasts or whatever. On All In, they'll be talking about something, and I'll link it and I'll say, okay, yeah, I agree with this. I don't agree with that. What happens in this future scenario? Like how will this impact my portfolio? Help me think through the potential impacts that this will have on my portfolio. And I just use it as almost like a research partner, I guess. And it just gives really good insights. And it's like, oh, okay. So that's how gold would be impacted.
Would you allow it to do trades on your behalf?
I mean, I'll probably test. I only saw this when you sent it through. I'll probably test it. I use Robinhood because it's the best like UI for like tracking things, but that's not where I make any investments. But I'll probably put in like, I don't know, a couple $1,000 and see what happens just out of fun.
So I feel like
I would test it
too.
Yeah, I would test it.
Yeah,
but I'm probably not gonna. That's not gonna be. I don't know. I wouldn't want that to be my like cash.
Yeah. No, so they allow you to create I think that's what they do. They allow you to create a separate account just for the agent.
Yeah, well, I would just use my main. I don't have money in like my Robinhood account really, so I just that doesn't make much odds.
Yeah. So all right. So you feel you want to try this? Are there any things like? Are there models out there like that? Because
that's the thing. I wonder again. I haven't looked at exactly how it works. Like, how much info do you give it? Like, I would probably just tell it to track Leopold or track situational awareness hedge fund, or maybe I'd ask it to hedge against that. I don't know. That's the other thing that's interesting. Like stuff that I would never come close to in terms of equities that I own is like these short positions.
Yeah.
Where Leopold has these shorts that make a lot of sense because he'll short, for example, like a chip ETF, which so I think a lot of it this was whatever I'm saying. Anyway, so if there, because like the prices are at all-time highs, right? There probably is going to be a drop. You would imagine that some of these companies have got like SanDisk is up, I think 1,200% or something in the last year, which is great because Leopold had it in his fund, so I bought it like 6 months ago. But I have no idea. I used to work in finance, but I'm not spending enough time to go in detail about does this price really make sense? Well, like and what happens if the war in Iran doesn't get wrapped up? Like that's a big moving piece. So what Leopold has in the fund is he has like shorts against the chip companies because I think his thesis is that a lot of them are overvalued or like have been. I know you very bullish on Nvidia, which as you should be. And I'm bullish on Nvidia, but but if you look at his whole fund, the 13, and that's what hedge funds do, right? They have long and short positions to hedge against risk. So I think he's long on most of these AI companies, and then he has short positions on the chip companies because he thinks in a bubble or correction or Iran war breaks out or whatever again, he thinks that those chip companies will be affected more than his long
because
positions.
of like
So that's his hedge. That's his hedge.
I see. Okay, yeah.
But what I'm saying is how I work with Claude then is like I'm never going to spend the time to put on my own short position or understand the different like price targets that I want to put in. But now I can talk to it and say, hey, I see Leopold has this position. How can I do something similar in my portfolio? Oh, let's do it on Oracle. Oracle, like it's probably overvalued a bit. So I like talk me through how exactly to place the short position on Oracle and region that I'm aiming for and how I should think about it. And just talk me through it step by step. And then I can place that bet. I think about all these things as bets, right? So it's just
okay, let's do this then. Let's both create agent accounts in Robinhood, put a little bit money in it, and have it compete. Oh, I like that. Let's have them compete. And then let's see where they are like next time we do the podcast.
But are you just going to get your agent to buy NVIDIA only?
No. I think obviously, for me, it's just like my personal investment is very long term, right? I'm like, I'm not going to ever touch it. Like Warren Buffett style, like do nothing.
That's as you should. Yeah.
But this one is play money. So let's put like a little bit, not too much, right? And then I have to come up with some kind of a model. Like it seems like you kind of have a little bit of your own model there. I don't have anything like that, but it needs to do some trading, right? So maybe it's some shorting, So I don't know yet, but I'm curious about this because I feel like by not doing it, we might be leaving some money on the table. I don't know.
Well, that's one thing that it's the only reason that as of the belief, as a founder or as some like having any of these investments is a distraction. And I still believe it like kind of takes up mind share. And that mind share is better spent building a company. Like the ROI is better on spending that time. So I believe that to be true. But at the same time, I think we're at a very specific time in history where a lot of these companies and equities are going to like take off. If you believe Elon's normally directionally correct, if he's talking about triple digit GDP growth in the next 10 years, that's something that's never been seen before. And there will be specific winners and specific equities that don't win in that. So I'm like, okay, I need to just at least have positions across the market. So I probably have, whatever.
Okay, so this Robinhood game, we're going to play this. So next one, topic that we had. So this is an interesting revelation that I had last week. So Paddy, do you use Claude Code for anything?
Yeah. Yeah.
What do you use it for?
So I use it less at the moment because, like I said, my main focus is just getting the team up to speed, which is mostly then around just using Cowork. Like when Opus 4.6 first came out, it was first added in, which I think was December. So when I got back, in January, February, I was spending a lot of late nights just in Claude Code, especially for someone like me that my background's engineering or whatever, studied engineering, but never worked never wrote any code in my career. I worked in finance and then fintech startups. So I never wrote any code, but then Opus 4.6, and I tried Claude Code before that, and it was I get these pieces of code, but I couldn't actually use anything with them. Then January, I was the code that it's spitting out is actually and not just code, but then also setting up the different databases or pieces of infrastructure and talking you through step by step what's required I just send it a screenshot of a website or a tool and say, hey, they help me make this tool, and then spend 2 or 3 nights. And this is also before they had the auto accept. So you'd really just be sitting there like a monkey pressing accept.
Dangerous to skip permissions.
Yeah. Now I haven't done that in a long time, but yeah, I've rebuilt there was an affiliate tracking dashboard because all of our clients use different affiliate platforms, so we kind of work between them all. Then there's Affluent is a dashboard that can connect, but it's really just it connects APIs to all the different affiliate dashboards. But we pay an account. A lot of our clients pay for these different accounts, and it's non-trivial amounts. We have whatever 40 something clients is. I was like, oh, that should be pretty easy to just rebuild. I'll just do it as a test. But that's should be a lot of work, or is a lot of work, and to build the actual interface, the UI, the connections, make sure the data is flowing correctly. But I just kept screenshot of what the data should be, fix this, do that, and a couple of days because it said it to one of my clients, and if they're interested, and they're like, yeah, this would be pretty cool. Just did it with them. and created a full dashboard that just connected to the same API keys, the same setup, fully functional. The first few iterations were not like the data wouldn't flow correctly, or there was different like timestamps that needed to be changed, or the database structure needed to be updated. But by taking screenshots, which I think that was a huge unlock when I realized that. I can't remember what podcast someone talked about that on. It was probably Boris, but screenshots, something not working, take a screenshot of either the interface or just the code and say, like, I don't know what's happening here. This is broken. Screenshot gives us all the context and it goes off and fixes it. But
nice.
That being said, I was like, okay, this is great, but probably doesn't make sense to like switch over to this dashboard. Not yet. That's a whole nother thing. Like I'd have to have someone maintain that. As you know, as a software builder, that's like maintenance.
When you put it out there, it becomes real.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I was like, oh, my client was like, so will we move to this now? And I was like, oh no, this was just an experiment, really.
Yeah.
And the experiment worked, but like I have to go back to work. We're not.
Yeah.
Not in the
but
business.
do you now like use it on a daily basis or a few times a week for something?
I use it so I have like let's say all of my finance. Obviously, not obviously, but I look after all our finances. So I have it connected into like Bill.com, into Mercury, and then we separately have our own, like our accountants run our books, close our books. So we have, call it, 2 entities with different like P&Ls and revenue and expense files. So we probably have like 6 different Excel files that we built over the last 3 years that capture the information specifically how we like to look at it. So I put all that into Claude Code and create a dashboard that one it connects into. So it's a combination of Mercury and Bill.com. I think this is the 2 of them because QuickBooks didn't make sense because we want the closed files, like the revenue file, the expense file, the operating cost file, and all those files to be the source of information, or the source of truth. So and then we have Mercury for cash and Bill.com for invoices. But I use that, and then I query. So that's obviously all in a folder set up on my laptop that has all those files back to since we started the company. So it has these really useful dashboard interfaces, like 6 different dashboards or 6 different pages with multiple dashboards on each page, and I can do like scenario planning on what if this happens, or if we sign these 3 clients by next month, we're going to make these 2 hires. What does that look like for cash flow? How does that change EBITDA? How should I think about this? So that's all through Claude Code, and then also I can query it. So I can say, hey, what happened? Like same thing, we can access all that structured information now from our books, from our finance files for the last 4 years, and look at it. But more relevant, whatever. That's the first thing I do when we close books at the beginning of a month. I upload them to this and I go through the dashboard instead of having to go through each of the files separately. I have this interface now. That's probably the most useful thing I've built in Claude Code. And then Cowork, like you have all these different like task dashboards for productivity things. They're pretty useful. But yeah, you're the one building interesting things. You tell.
So this is more for people who just pretty much live in Claude Code. So like I live in Claude Code. Yeah, I use Codex too a lot now because
I want to. By the way, I want to free up my time to do more of that, but I have to talk to many people.
So I have Codex check Claude's work and stuff like that. So like I started using this thing every time I have an idea, I turn it into, so everything gets a GitHub repo, right? So repository, that's what, and then every project. But before a project starts, I start a discussion. The GitHub has a section called discussions, right? I posted this. I basically, you both use the microphone app, Whisperflow or whatever, and then we just talk to you. Ramble into it. It gives a lot of context. You don't want to just like
the best,
have like
productivity hack.
You don't want to do like 2-3 lines of prompt. You just like ramble into it, just like dump your brain into that conversation. And then this is what I want to do. Let's get a discussion going. And then gets the discussion going. And then I have like each tab that I have in Claude Code in the shell, it's like a different project, right? I have MCP engineer, Gentic computer engineer, Gentic web engineer, model engineer. Like there's just a lot of different components, a lot of different repos. And each engineer, I give them, you are the engineer for this repo. Like you're responsible for this, right? And then their memory just builds up about that repo. So every time we work on something about that project, they have more information than the other engineers, like inside of that repo, inside of that folder or tab. And then, but as you know, I live in Rhode Island. It's beach season. So I don't want to be tied to my laptop, and I don't want to bring my laptop, and, I want to be out and about, just go to the beach, do that, and, but the thing is, we can get the agent still working, Paddy. Like the work doesn't have to stop. That's the thing. So the idea here is that how can the agents keep working when I'm not here, or I don't want to bring my laptop with me, right? So for this, Claude has remote control. If you type in /RC.
So do you do everything through just like dispatch or remote control versus
remote control? Like
or...
if I'm here, even if I'm in here, I still use remote control, and I'll tell you why now. So I have like 6 different tabs open in Claude Code. Each tab in terminal, I use Ghosty, is a separate project, separate repo, right? And then all of them have /RC with remote control, and I tie that to Claude's desktop app or Claude's iPhone app, because in the iPhone app, the remote control shows up inside of the Claude's app. So it will work as long as your laptop is open
or awake
and the shell is on. But then you have to keep the laptop open, and I'm like, I never want to do that because we have a dog, we have a 5-year-old, and they're all coming in and doing stuff in my office, and
You don't trust Kai on the laptop yet?
Yeah, no, I just don't want to leave it around, And then I said, all right, let me just connect my laptop to my other desktop. I have a desktop laptop that never turns up. But then what happens is every once in a while, it's just the new Mac update installs or the Wi-Fi goes out or something like that. And it just shell closes, and I'm like, it loses the memory. And I have these cron jobs that runs, and I'm like, all right, I can't, let me figure out a way to run this on the cloud, right? So I went to Amazon, AWS, created an EC2 server, which is medium size. It's like $30 a month or something like that. And then you log in to the shell. It's a Linux. And then you install Claude Code on the AWS shell, EC2, right? It's on the cloud. And then I created several folders, 5-6 folders for all of the projects that I have. I tied them to the GitHub repos. And then each one of them are open. But the thing is, again, you connect to this from your laptop, and if you disconnect the shell, they shut down. And I don't want them to be shut down. I want them to be always on, which I can remote control from wherever, right? So then there's a thing called tmux, T-M-U-X. So this tmux allows the connection to be on. So you kind of create a session, tmux session in AWS, and I keep it on, and then detach the session, close your laptop. So I have right now, as we speak, I have 5-6 remote Claude Code sessions running on AWS EC2 server, which I can shut down this laptop after I call and go to the beach. It's awesome out, beautiful. And I can just and I talk to it like this.
Yeah.
I just turn on Whisperflow, and I'm like, okay. And here's another thing that I did. I'm getting these Claudes, check each other's work. I have a CTO Claude, and do work on this. After you're done, create a pull request, email it to the CTO. So I gave them agent mail inboxes, all 5 of them. So it's they have their own email
What do you
addresses.
use for the agent mail?
It's agent mail, agentmail.com.
Oh, yeah.
It's a new
I've seen
YC
that
company.
Yeah. I wasn't sure what they
were
called.
I created 5-6 inboxes, and I gave them their logins, API keys, and said, look,
do they have credit cards
it's in the repo. What's that?
Do they have their own credit cards?
Oh, not yet, no. But we're going to do this with the Robinhood, right? So I gave them their email addresses, and they all know their own email addresses, and they know the email addresses of the other engineers. So when the MCP engineers needs the giant computer engineer, it's I email them, and I have a cron job that runs every 5 minutes to check emails, right? CTO is checking emails. Oh, I have a pull request. Oh, I approve it, email the approval, and I merge it. So I'm the only question that I get is okay, this is done now. Should we merge it and deploy it to production? So I say yes to all of them, right? Just because I have so many good checks in place. So I kind of have to replicate myself to also say,
you built your harness.
So the harness is working so good, but then I'm at some points, they're still asking me should I do this? Should I not do this? And I'm well, this is where I need my own digital twin. This is what Bora would have said. Let the digital twin say the thing I would have said.
You don't have that yet? I would have taught you.
No, I haven't built.
You have enough data, twin. As in your posts and YouTubes and.
Yeah, I know. I mean, but yeah. So I'm how do I make decisions, right? So if I can, if you can articulate that, if you can write it down and turn it into some kind of a skill file for the agent to follow, you know. So this is an interesting thing. We had other, so if people are interested in doing this, they can try it. Like the way I described it, it's a big unlock, I think. So we have other things to talk about Paddy. We just ran, we're at 68 minutes now.
Yeah.
So I think we should
we'll have
end
to
our
pick it
conversation
up
here, and then maybe continue next week from where we left off with some of the news and some of the other important topics.
100%. Yeah, I feel like this might be even more common than a weekly one, but we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see.
It's a lot to talk about. It's always enjoyable.
There's a lot to talk about. It's just there's a lot going on, and honestly, I don't want to keep up, but like we have to.
Well, the capability overhang is the craziest thing. It's like the amount of things that we can just build if we pause today. So there's a good argument to say that you shouldn't try to keep up because there's so much stuff that you should try to build. But then you also have to know where the puck is going.
Right? We need an edge in business, right? We all need an edge, right? If everybody has access to the same kinds of things, how do you win in business? How do you compete with your competitors? You need to have an extra edge, some kind of delta. And then maybe I feel like at this time that delta is in the form of a 3-month being ahead of somebody 3 months, kind of like the frontier models and the open source Chinese models, right? Open source Chinese models are pretty good, but frontier models are better. And, maybe you could say that they're maybe 3 months ahead or 6 months ahead or whatever. But the thing is, if we want to compete in business, if our competitor is using the best frontier models and we're stuck with like the cheaper models, then our competitor is going to win. So it's in our best interest to be at the forefront, doing the new and better things to have that edge. Like I heard this from Toby Lutke, the Shopify CEO, in a podcast. Somebody asked him, like, you're spending so much in tokens at Shopify. And he's like, I'm happy. I'm actually happy that we're spending, because that gives us, if we have the ability to spend that much in tokens and then do that much extra and better, that gives our company an edge over others who can't spend that money.
100%.
You see what I mean? I haven't thought of it like that. And that kind of also reframed it a bit for me.
Yeah. Are you back using Opus 4.6 or have you seen 4.7 being a bit lower quality?
Oh, no, I'm happy with it. I'm happy with 4.7. I do Opus 4.7, and then I use ChatGPT 5.5 extra high in Codex. So basically, when I create these GitHub folders, Codex also has access to them, especially when I'm doing like upfront architecture. Like right now, I'm doing an upfront architecture about proactive AI, because we didn't get a chance to talk about brand brain, which we can talk about it next time. But the reason to have the brand brain or company brain is so when that brain exists, the agents can do proactive things by consulting. We have to talk about that, right? That's why we have a brain. So now the brain is there. What can we do with that brain so that we don't have to ask questions to it, but agents can proactively do things? So that's what I'm working on now. But I'm at the architecture phase, and then I have a discussion in GitHub now.
Let's pause it there. We gotta
exactly.
We gotta unpack
we can get into it in either next week or the week after that.
100%.
All right, Paddy. Nice chatting with you. Yeah. Talk to you next time, buddy.
Talk to you. Bye. Cheers.